Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 18th, and I believe VidCon is going on, and I wouldn't put it past YouTube to not announce anything simply because they're too busy pandering to people who go to VidCon, the big streamers, and, you know, all the small streamers be damned. I wouldn't put it past him, although I think that's probably a little unlikely too. Look at this. This is just the best event that has ever happened in Hearthstone. Like, 100 dust, 100 dust, 100 gold, 100 gold, 80 gold, 80 dust. Just great news. And it's not... I think I checked the end date of this. It's like gonna end in a week. So we're gonna have another 5-6 days of this. I don't have the exact dates, but nice turns of events. I guess inherently the only real problem, and this is a very personal problem for me alone, is the fact, okay, we still have this dragon deck. That's what I needed to find out so we can play Dragon's Quest. There's no extra entry to the arena, so unless I just wanted to go crazy and spend the money on arena entries, which in the past we can only base our actions based on how things went in the past, spending money on arena has never been as good as spending money on card packs, and we're really getting set up for that next expansion. On top of which, we're getting a lot of dust to help us fix a lot of things, find some missing cards that we would severely benefit from having. So I'm really liking this event. I wouldn't be in
I will fight with honor.
I wouldn't be upset if all daily quests going forward gave us some small amount of dust and an increased amount of gold, and just more and more people would be encouraged to continue playing this. I haven't heard any news stories saying people are getting in droves, getting bored with Hearthstone, but there definitely have been some stories of anecdotal stories of people just getting burned down on Hearthstone for as long as it's been going on, and for as greedy as Activision Blizzard has been with it.
Reporting for duty.
So one also wonders, I guess, if they learn any lessons here, will they take those to heart for other games like Overwatch, where I imagine, as somebody who doesn't play Overwatch, I wouldn't be surprised if there's also a kind of high amount of money that they want you to spend with the microtransactions in Overwatch, and they could potentially find a way to give you some gold and let you play free to play. We have a decent amount of news, and these quests are not going to take too long. There's kind of nothing more to say about E3, and until the Steam Summer Sale happens, there's nothing to say there. So all I need to really do today is burn through the news. I did manage to record 2 hours late last night of Borderlands 2, but honestly, it's been an entire week. I've just been dropping the ball like crazy. Maybe more and more this is just my new schedule. There is a slight fear that if a person is getting more and more tired, but gradually enough, from, say, in my case, I guess it would probably be sleep deprivation and insomnia, it could be that is just the new normal for me, and then that kind of puts my channel in a weird position. Like, if my channel over the course of a year eventually just boils down to just streaming on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that still would be the vast amount of my video views, certainly, but it certainly stops. It invalidates having such a considerable amount of games on Steam. It invalidates all the retrospective series. It invalidates my efforts and desires to criticize and talk about games I've played before, and my efforts and desires to want to play games that have already, let's see,
the menagerie is for guests only.
that have come out and I haven't played before. So also kind of invalidates me playing new games. Like, if I did just Monday, Wednesday, Friday and I had enough funding to play just new games, there's a danger of even running out of energy there. And energy and time are not inherently the same thing. Like, it is also pretty possible that that I'm slowing down in the production of footage for other reasons. Getting back to Borderlands 2 after practically a week of playing is super easy, but then I kind of needed to exit out because I need to play Black Mirror 2, which that is going to be kind of a nightmare of a point-and-click game, but I've got to get it done. I really don't feel like I can reduce the production of my footage anymore and feel good about it. I never really felt good about it reducing the amount of footage I was making anyways, but I've already combined the kids time slot with the point and click time slot. I've already lost the 7 o'clock time slot, which was AAA games that were more mature. I have one time slot that's either a kids game or a point and click adventure game, one time slot where it's a AA single A game, and one time slot where it's a AAA game, and then there's Hearthstone that are just rebroadcasts of the live streams. And going down the direction to rebroadcast more, I don't think that works because there's nothing else I'm streaming. So yeah, I just need to put my nose to the grindstone and keep on going, and I think I'll do that. As I've mentioned many times before, Toys R Us is shutting down. The local Toys R Us near me, not super near me. I've been checking and going inside of it every 3 or 4 weeks, and I didn't do it often enough, so I totally boned it up as far as my desire to find Legos that would have been somewhere around 25, 30, 40% off. It'd been nice if Legos would have been 50% off or higher, but the truth of the matter is there's enough adult fans of Legos and kids fans of Legos that will take even a 20% discount, which is very hard to get on Legos since they are a monopoly. Yes, you could get Mega Bloks, yes, you could get several other off-brand Lego compatible bricks, but most Lego fans, particularly adult fans of Legos, don't want the quality of the off-brands.
I will fight with honor.
I'm very snobbish about it, and every Mega Block I've ever seen does have a inconsistency in color, inconsistency in the plastic strength. Just it does not quite work. So I'd hoped that I would have gotten to a Toys R Us and there would have been lots of Legos I could buy, sets that even if I didn't care about the sets themselves, I could then have a lot more bricks to build things from scratch. Unfortunately, I went in for what is now the last time I'll probably ever go into that Toys R Us. I don't see any reason why I'd go back. And with the exception of the Portal level expansion and the Powerpuff Girls team pack and the Powerpuff Girls character pack, which between two packs that you have to purchase to get all three of the Powerpuff Girls for Lego Dimensions, that's pretty much all they had on Legos. I was able to find like 2 boxes of Duplo, and in the Duplo boxes you don't get much, so like there's 16 pieces or something in there in the Duplo sets. So I boned it up there. Board games, they actually did have quite a few board games, but none of them really interested me. I'm not a board game player, and there was a considerably larger amount of female-oriented products than male-oriented products, because I just imagine that it's easier for parents of male children to grab anything and the kids will be happy, where female children are generally pickier, and I just don't think female toys sell as well. There was considerable amount of Skylander stuff and Toys R Us exclusive things. There was a sign on the door of my Toys R Us that said they were also cleaning out a warehouse, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Toys R Us exclusive things were actually things that would have actually been shipped to multiple stores if it weren't for the fact that Toys R Us was shutting down. Surprisingly, some pretty expensive items, drones and radio controlled cars, a lot of summer stuff, and it would have been a considerably different haul if Toys R Us was shutting down in the winter. But a lot of stuff still kind of expensive and still kind of random, but a decent haul, and I'm done purchasing things there. And of course, the vast majority of what I'm purchasing I'm giving away, like almost every single thing, is because, let's face it, with the exception of Legos, I don't really play with toys. There was some, like, one very specific Nintendo Amiibos that I think is from Animal Crossing, maybe, or Secret of Mana, but I had no real interest in it. There's a bunch of video games, but I don't buy console games. There was a decent number of movies, like DVDs and Blu-rays that are kid-friendly. Maybe I could have bought some of those, but I decided not to, because that gets into more of a question of quality and what do they really want to see, or whether, like, if the movies, for instance, had like the Miyazaki Blu-rays of like all the Miyazaki movies from Disney's import from Lake Buena Vista, that would have been cool, but they wouldn't have those. But that had been, certainly, to try to relate this to my channel a little bit, that had been certainly something that was another time factor, time suck. Certainly, thinking about Toys R Us shutting down and trying to get some good deals was distracting me from recording, so one more distraction is now gone. And there's been several distractions lately, but inherently the distractions certainly are based on what I let distract myself. And it does build upon a lack of interest and a lack of steam to actually just do my job that doesn't pay, and just keep my butt in the seat and record footage. That's really all I need to focus on. I want to focus. I should focus on it for the rest of the year. It'd be nice with the current schedule. There is a chance that I could get 6 months to a year ahead on pre-recorded footage, and then we could bring back another time slot. But that's not really what's happening right now.
My magic will tear you apart.
Well, let's just hit this, and then hit this, and then end your turn. It's probably too early to play this on the third turn. Let's start getting into the video game news, because the news will be the problem. We're going to get all the daily quests done pretty quickly, and we'll probably just try to play on our main account and get up to as high of ranked as possible. Like, that's the thing that makes the most sense. Let's see. Gematsu has an article. A brand new Tales of series RPG is in development. Tales of being like Tales of Berkshire, Tales of Vesperia, the Tales of like Tales of Vesperia's 10th anniversary is, I think, getting re-released. So that's interesting to people who like the JRPG Tales of series. But oh darn it, they managed to kill my guy. Well, let's do this, and then do this, and then do this. We've got a game on Steam called OIK4. This is a game I could have closed. It's another basic physics puzzle with basic blocks trying to roll balls and squares. It's a one-screen game. They do have some slightly colorful backgrounds that are like low-resolution gradients of different colors, but pretty much an expense, a waste of time. In a weird way, looking at this developer, there's 4 other OIK games, one of which is called OIK Memory, and they're all rated high. In fact, they have about 10 games that are rated positively from this developer, which seems strange. And until I see the reason why it's popular, the reason it's popular is because it has 1,800 Steam achievements, which Valve has now officially decided to start curbing these games that are just achievement grinders. One of the other things is that the achievements often have the images of numbers and letters that people use to spell out things on your badge profiles, and that's certainly something people do for some reason. OIK4, not worth really buying though. Even if the achievement people are happy with it, I wouldn't be surprised if all those achievement people are grinding for achievements for some incredibly ridiculous reason. Like, I don't know, maybe they're getting some kind of kickback somewhere. I don't even know how you do it. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Robotics Notes Elliot and Memories Off, innocent fillet, coming to Switch. So that's 2 visual novels, one called Robotics Notes Elliot, or no, not Elliot, Elite. I should read correctly. And then the other visual novel is called Memories Off, innocent fillet. Which that's quite the combination there of words.
Reporting for duty. This is a valid target.
Let's see. Is there anything really more to say about these visual novels? Memories Off Innocent Freelay launched on the PS4, PS Vita, and PC in Japan in March, and now they're coming to the Switch. Robotics Notes was first released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2012. An enhanced version was released on the Vita in 2014, and now it's coming to the Switch. So,
reporting for duty.
This is
quite the expansion as we continue down this path of visual novels on the Switch, further signaling that the Vita is now confirmed dead, and there is still a market to buy all of that stuff. Rock Paper Shotgun has a article that's StarCraft updates on the Korean League and Remastered by Brock Wilbur. I thought that said Ben Brode for a second. That'd be interesting if Ben Brode started writing articles about StarCraft, considering he worked until very recently for Activision Blizzard making Hearthstone. And that would really be the snake eating their own tail. I don't think you can work for a video game. Well, you can definitely get away with this in video game journalism, but legitimately in the real world you shouldn't be allowed to work for a video game company and then become a video game journalist or even opinion piece article writer, because that's just weird. It's like how politicians then become lobbyists for the things that they were passing laws to regulate. It stinks of cronyism. It stinks of kickbacks. Let's see, is there anything in this article really to point out? As part of the ongoing 20-year celebration for Blizzard, there's a brand new tournament coming out, Korea StarCraft League, and it's the first time Blizzard has fully owned and operated the tournament. And let's see, let's go ahead and
to battle.
Do this.
I don't need any of you.
Do that.
Reporting for duty.
There's also a developer update for StarCraft Remastered, so they're continuing to work on that. That's really two articles, probably from the same announcements, but they should have mixed those together more. Interesting. Rock Paper Shotgun has this article for the final episode of Steve Gaynor's Tone Control podcast has been released. Apparently this was a kickstarted podcast that only got people talking in, like, Steve Gaynor is the guy who worked on Tacoma and Gone Home, or one of the guys. It's a really weird the way this is being described. Who in the right mind would pay somebody to do to make a podcast?
To your queen.
And over the course of 2 seasons they made 28 episodes. I've streamed over 100 times which have been broken into
By my
considerably more, probably three to close to 400 recordings of Hearthstone, and nobody's paid me for it. Not that I think anybody should have. Like, even other podcasters have made podcast episodes into hundreds and thousands for free. It seems really ridiculous to have to pay up front to hear somebody talk. Like, one of the odd things about free speech is that it really is not valuable speech usually. You're usually not paying somebody to list out their own opinions. You usually don't want to hear it. I could see them doing a podcast and asking for asking people to Patreon it and pay after the fact, after they delivered something. But to make a Kickstarter and say, I don't even know what you're arguing for. Who, like, buying a microphone? Was the Kickstarter for $100 to buy a microphone? Buying a computer? Like, what did you really need to do? Was it a video podcast? Did you need to buy a camera? So maybe then it gets knocked up to $200 or $300 if you were just to buy a webcam, or did you need a red cam in 8K for some reason to just show your own face? I've never heard of this podcast, and I guess I want to go listen to it and see what they have to say. There's definitely some danger I'm not going to like what I hear. Some of the people in Gone Home in Tacoma seem to be a little bit too SJW. I'm not going to try and dance around it for me, and I've gotten less and less tolerant of them. But I guess I'll go check that out. Although that is almost, like, in all realisticness, that's not really even news related to the video game industry. It's right on the level of promoting a band that some video game programmer was in. It's tangential at best. But I'm certainly talking way too much about this stuff. I need to learn to just move forward. We have a game on Steam called Sword of the Guardian. It is a side-scroller beat 'em up with swords in a Renaissance look. And I'm watching trailers of a boss battle. The graphics don't look as good as I would like them to. They're not terrible by far, but they have a heavy inked outline that makes them stand out from the background in a way I don't think I like. Let's see, the thing that would save a game like this is the price. It's $12.99. I doubt there's any reviews that are worth looking at. I need to stop scrolling down to reviews. Actually, this is wasting time. Like, there's 4 positive and 1 negative, and the negative's not in my language. The other thing that would save this is the developer. And see, this is the first game, so I'm not super feeling generous today. Like, I should play this first. Oops. Well, guess in the turn. So, but I'm gonna try.
Nice little
I'm gonna, despite what is basically just a whim and a mood, I'm going to try to. I'm gonna wishlist this and keep an eye on it, just in case, because this might be a hidden gem of a game. It might not. Let's see. Let's play this time, this time, and this time. Here, I'll just end there. TechRaptor has one of these articles, 6 best presidents in gaming, which doesn't really have anything, like, there's really nothing to say or do about that, like, and why this out is being mentioned right now doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's just quickly go through it. The president, who's just called president from Duke Nukem Forever, Elizabeth Winters from Vanquish, John Henry Eaton from Fallout 3, the boss from Saints Row 4, President Max from Sam & Max, and you in the Democracy series. Like, TechRaptor doing one of those articles that I often criticize PC Gamer for doing, that have no real relevancy or any, it's just a list, just clickbait. PC Gamer, speaking of PC Gamer, has an article, Code Vein is a surprisingly fun Souls-like with giant anime swords, which, okay, I guess it's alright, and happy to hear that PC Gamer is getting a little hyped for Code Vein. Certainly I've seen a lot already of Code Vein from Gamatsu, in particular, covering because of their more Japanese oriented coverage. There is still the question, like, the fact that Dark Souls was so popular in the West probably was heavily based on the fact that it didn't look anime. Once they put the anime back in, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a hashtag not my Dark Souls type response from some of the players. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's already like a decent number of Dark Souls players and fans who don't like Dark Souls 2 because they love Dark Souls 1, or don't like Dark Souls at all because they like Demon Souls. Like, I imagine you could just, the audience could be ever diminishing because of pickiness. Here we have a game on Steam called Blueprint World that is a one-screen game that I can't even really figure out what it is. It looks like you're trying to drag around gears on blueprints, but I don't even have a clue. Yeah, okay, it's spinning gears that have letters into them to make words, and I could kind of get into that. I don't know if that's an easier game or not. Let's see, I guess I'm gonna be generous again. I was gonna totally dismiss Blueprint World. It has 27 achievements. It's $1.79 with 10% off. I think, let's see, more than 100 unique levels. That's good to see. I think I'm gonna be a little bit more generous than truthfully I even feel like being. This is the first game from this developer, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Of course, putting things in the wishlist today, knowing that only in a few days the Steam Summer Sale happens, means I might very easily just take them out of the wishlist tomorrow. Speaking of Steam, somebody actually friended me on Steam, and that is an incredibly rare occurrence, despite my requests that people do it. I know there are certainly reasons around that because of the way Steam limits the number of friends you can have. Friending some random person that you don't really know and who will immediately tell you he's never going to play games with you is a big ask. So, but I did get a friend request. I did accept it. I'd like to see more of that. I like it where every day I have to spend like 5 minutes. I wouldn't want to spend more than that accepting friend requests. There's probably also an easier way. I could probably just auto accept friend requests. But moving on, Steam has a game called Trigger. It says Trigger is a highly realistic, detailed third-person and first-person drift game that includes a first-person zombie mode. What? What in the world are you making? This game is...
What now?
Well, at least Trigger isn't a fake game where you're just... where people are trying to do memes and trigger people. But what a weird combination of things, and it doesn't look that good. It's $17.99 with no discount. It has like 1 review. It seems like maybe Steam is updating its review system. There's like 1 positive review that's suspicious.
I wonder.
There probably is somewhere in that, in the realm of possibility, there probably is a place where you could have a zombie shooting game where you get in a car for a small amount of time and drift and run into them. I know they've tried that in other games and it worked alright, but they haven't worked great. Borderlands 2 certainly has cars, and it tries to encourage you every now and then to run over enemies and these smaller creatures, but there's still definitely an issue of the cars not being capable of hitting all of the people and running them over, so sometimes you will just crash into a large bullymong, for example, is one of the creatures, which is a half gorilla, like a giant gorilla with 4 arms.
I will fight with honor.
And if you run into a big one, you just kind of bounce into it, which is not what you want to do. You don't want to bounce off of it. So, in one of the many improvements I would have liked to see in Borderlands 3 is, unless it has a shield or something, if it's a creature and it's run over by the cars, I do want it to actually be, I guess I have to play that now. That was a mistake. I want it to actually be an impenetrable tank that runs over everything easily and smoothly, and kills things. Usually you can't get a car anywhere near a boss anyway, so it's not an issue as far as a way of cheating, although maybe some speedrunners can find a way. Speaking of Trigger though, no, it's a decent looking asset flip type game, but it's not offering anything. Speaking of asset flips, PC Gamer has an article, PUBG clarifying misunderstandings about their use of store-bought assets. The quote here is, how many times do we gotta sculpt a cash register? Let's see. So during an interview with Jeff Keighley at E3, Brendan Green, aka PlayerUnknown, talked about accusations his game is an asset flip because it uses store-bought props. This kills me a little inside because I know we're not. Of course, the thing there is asset flip is just a general nebulous term. Like, we don't have any kind of legal or concrete standard definition of an asset flip. If a game uses 50% store-bought assets in the game, is it an asset flip? If it uses 20%, is it an asset flip? If it uses 10%, I would suspect for PUBG, you are probably somewhere between 15 and maybe 30% store-bought assets, but then there's a lot of work and a lot of effort to mix those together and try to have a game that looks visually consistent. Inherently too, if you bought one asset that was just a pack of a lot of visually consistent things, so that there was a cash register, a lamp, a door, all in the same art style by the same artist, that's gonna look a lot better than if you bought each of those items separately from different artists. And it's gonna feel like it's gonna feel less like an asset flip if you buy everything from the same artist. Here later in the article it says they work with an artist called Karol, K-A-R-O-L, Mikis, M-I-K-I-S, in Russia, who does most of the vehicles. Most of our buildings are handmade by artists, and even foliage and stuff like that. Of course, we use some props from the marketplace. We had to make a map within 9 months, and you don't do that without using the work of other artists. But for the most part, most of our stuff is made hand, so I can see the comments, and I'm like, I want to kill you, which is probably not a quote you want to ever have quoted to yourself, is that you want to kill people criticizing their games, whether you're joking or not.
For justice.
It wouldn't be the first time also that a artist is getting paid to make things, and this is just a tinfoil hat speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came out that Karol Mikis has actually purchased things from the marketplace and used them as a base, or just full on sold them. I don't know the person or any of his work, but it wouldn't be the first time an artist just resold an asset as their own, and that may not even be really illegal. Yes, and I know we're already done with the data quests here, but trying to have a 1 hour recording on each account so we can kind of grind upward. Let's see.
Let the hunt begin. I
think
with honor.
There's a bigger issue with PUBG, and it's not that it's an asset flip, it's that it's not a finished and polished game, and it just looks horrible in comparison to Fortnite, which had the benefit of having all of its graphics and assets already done for the original Fortnite, and then they just had to add in a
the light protects me.
Fortnite just benefited from adding a pretty easy battle royale mode to gameplay engine and graphics that already existed, where PUBG had to start from the beginning, or at least from now.
Let's move quickly.
However, that being said, there is also an argument that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has the wrong temperament to be the person in charge. Not Battlegrounds, but PlayerUnknown himself has the wrong temperament to be in charge. He's got, we see this a lot in the video game industry, but he's got kind of that Randy Pitchford attitude of maybe I'll say something or do something slightly misleading or slightly offensive, just not political when you're the person in charge and you're trying to sell your game to everybody. And so there's an issue certainly there, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds as a corporation, the corporation is not spending its time trying to find new improved battlegrounds and find find new players. Instead, it's spending its time complaining and making suing Epic, which maybe there's a reason for a lawsuit there, but in the meantime they're not making their game, and PUBG is losing its audience pretty quickly. In contrast, there has been an announcement for an audience that I would love to see gained. Gematsu has an article. Arc System Works has announced a Kill La Kill video game. Kill La Kill is an anime. Was it made by Gainax? I believe, maybe? No, it was Studio Trigger, sorry. I'm not sure Gainax has made anything in decades. It's been a long time since I've been a major anime fan. The
battle.
Kill La Kill is the story of this school that it's like a private school that is being run by this one lady who's super rich, and she kind of has this group of followers, and so they are the bosses, they are the enemy, and you get this hoodlum student in there who is going to the school for her own reasons I don't really want to spoil, but basically she's on a revenge plot and she's trying to investigate who done it. And she keeps coming up against the student council with the lady who's the head of the student council being in charge of that. That's a pretty typical Japanese anime school type story. What's weird about Kill La Kill is that they are actually fighting, and the way they fight and they get superhuman powers is that they're wearing these special uniforms that have like magical properties to give people super strength and super power. And the main character has also a special outfit that gives her super strength and super power. Now, on the face of it, that's pretty much all there is to it. However, the weirdness about Kill La Kill is when you see the design of the main character's outfit, because she's not wearing much clothing at all. It is a pretty iconic outfit that she wears to fight in, where it is large bladed collars to either side of her neck, and a tiny bit of fabric just barely covering her nipples, and suspenders that are then holding the suspenders, the cloth downward, that are then attaching to the smallest skirt you could possibly design, and then black. The shirt is fully covered gloves, so that's part of it too. And let's see, her main weapon is a giant pair of scissors, but only half of a scissor, so like a giant red half piece of scissors is as big as she is. And the student council president, for the most part, she wears something rather similar in revealing. It is also, I suppose, worth mentioning that there is a third group that's eventually introduced called Nudist Beach, that is an actual organization that is promoting nudism and not wearing any clothing at all. these are done in Kill La Kill because they just don't care. Like, particularly in Japan, nudity is not a big deal. It's certainly undercut when the Kill La Kill anime came out. Who would watch it? And it's a shame because I watched it on Netflix, and then the story is actually really, really good. The writing is really, really good. The action is really, really good. But it's hard to convince somebody to watch it when there's just kind of this extreme amount of cheesecake going on. And in a weird way, it's all tease. It doesn't really show anything. It's not pornographic at all. But I don't know how you make a game out of this and it comes to the West. And as I'm looking at the article, I'm not sure if it is coming to the West. I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be launched on an unannounced platform in 2019. It's planning on being a fighting game, which makes sense. Like, clearly that would make sense. But yeah, I don't know if this one's coming to the West. This one might get imported. It might be worth an import. I definitely would recommend anyone from the age of 16 or older, as long as you're mature enough to not be extremely titillated by slight cheesecake on, well, not slight, a considerable amount of cheesecake on screen. There is a bending over backwards reason for the way the outfits are, but it for the most part is just that way because they wanted it to be that way. They wanted it to be eye-catching. It probably, particularly if this was a Western show, it probably would have benefited from some editor or director coming in and saying, no, let's not go this crazy, because if we go this crazy, we're not going to get enough of an audience to make people be interested in it. Kill La Kill was super popular among cosplaying, which probably got a lot of people in trouble for cosplaying it at some conventions. It was super popular in general for the few years that it was out, but it's been a while too, and I don't think you really can make a new like a continuation of the story or anything. You could try, certainly, but the way it wrapped up was a little too finished. So yeah, I'd recommend it may still be on Netflix. Check it out. I had a lot more fun watching it than I thought I was. Let's see. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Inazuma 11 Aries no longer playable at the World Hobby Fair Summer 2018. So apparently the game that's not out yet, Inazuma 11, which is a soccer anime, since, you know, soccer is real big right now, apparently the World Cup is happening. I think I finally figured that out. I think that would certainly explain a lot of things.
Die, mage.
Everything's gonna die.
That's not a valid target.
Well, then let's just do it. But apparently, instead of a hands-on event, it's just going to be a stage event. Inazuma 11 will be available for the PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android when it launches. Apparently, this article doesn't know where it launches. I don't know, maybe I would be happier playing a game that is more of a story-based game around kids working towards not the World Cup of Soccer and professional adult levels, but working towards like a regional soccer thing.
Job's done.
Let's see. Moving on, Gematsu has Black Clover Quartet Nights. PS4's closed beta is set for July 15th through July 17th. This is a North America times have yet to be announced. Europe times are listed and Japan times are listed. I'm not sure what the Black Clover game is, nor am I really sure how much of a fandom in some of the regions are. I know it's an anime-based game, but to me it looks like, let's see, it says it features 10 playable characters and 4v4 online team battles. So it's, I guess, a fighting game in some sort. Moving on. Let's see. There's more details for another game in the Altair series, I believe it is. Nelki and the Legendary Alchemists, Altair of a New Land, has first details and screenshots, which the series seems to be coming fast and furious. It's something I'd never even heard of this series, and now it's coming out really quickly with several games. And it's not just visual novels. Although there is a decent number of conversation going on here, I'm seeing screenshots of some kind of city building mechanic, or at least a building mechanic of some sort. Otherwise, I'm not 100% sure what the story is. The characters all look fine.
I dream
Fantasy anime characters. Slight tendency here in the characterizations for older looking characters and not the super young moe characters, which I think Japan is finally starting to move away from into the next fad. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. OMDO is what happens when you turn Doom into a magic eye puzzle. So it's Doom mixed around OMDO, and apparently what it does is it just messes with the graphics in a way. So, like, in a crazy way. Like, I don't know if like, it's an itch.io mod to Doom, but I don't see how you could really play the game this way. It's like, I'm not seeing anything on initial viewing. And inherently, like, what is the benefit of making a video game mod that makes it more difficult for your eyes to recognize what you're looking at, particularly when you're talking about a first-person shooter like Doom? And sure, Doom is the original first-person shooter. It's not a hyper-fast first-person shooter like Counter-Strike Go or anything, but that doesn't really matter. It's still a pretty bad experience. We already talked about that game. I'm still struggling with duplicate tabs, which sucks, certainly. But then that, I guess, means also that we are done with a little bit more of the news than I thought. So, it's been an hour. It's been a little bit of a slow start. I'm still not sure how we speed this process out. I almost want, if I had, like, a partner, I almost want if there was somebody else next to me that could spout off news as I'm playing and we could take turns going between stories. That's often what you see in main productions. Whether you're watching a news station like CNN, there's 2 presenters on the table, and a lot of that really comes down to, is one of them going to have a coughing fit? Is one of them going to need to catch their breath? I've managed pretty well without that, but yeah, it probably would work a little bit better if 2 people were on mic covering these news, but I don't know if that really speeds anything up too much, because I'm always going to feel the need to inject my own opinions into the game. That's where I'm into the news, and that's like my own editorialization and my own interpretation of things, and that's where I'm putting my personality. So if I just brought in somebody else, I'd be putting in somebody else's personality, and that doesn't really make sense, nor do I think it really speeds it up. So yeah, I'm still struggling to try to get through news quicker, but I'm also struggling to see where I can make any more edits. Anyways, that's it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description. And if you want to support me even further, friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card. Steam Summer is coming up. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.